Hi, we're here today at 20 South Battery with architectural historian Brittany, and she's going to take us through time. Brittany, thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, welcome to 20 South Battery. This is one of the many homes that we do house histories on, and we always say every building has a story, especially, of course, the ones along the Battery, but any house within Charleston always has an incredible story worth telling. But this one in particular, I would love to take you through and tell you a little bit more about it.
All right, let's start. Where should we go first?
Let's go into the older drawing rooms, because that tends to be, that is the historic core, and there's really good stories in there.
All right, so over here.
So this is a double drawing room here at 20 South Battery, and this house was built in the 1840s, so we're going to see a lot of what we call neoclassical inspired elements in here. But one of my favorite stories about this room in particular is that in 1920, the Preservation Society of Charleston was founded in this room. Wow. So it was the first community-based preservation organization in the United States. 21 women, 3 men, all in this room, and there's some great accounts of that event. Older citizens, younger citizens getting together and really fighting for what they wanted to save from, at that time it was gas stations. It was the potential of skyscrapers coming to the South of Broad neighborhood, and they wanted to secure the character of the neighborhood. Wow. And so this house, of course, has had many different people, but I think Nell McCall Pringle, who was the homeowner at that time, she's definitely someone worth talking about, especially when we talk about women's history in Charleston.
You're big on humanizing.
Yes.
A building.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
The study of architecture is really the study of humans over time. And that's really what we like to bring into our house history. So it's not just fact after fact after fact. It's taking those people, putting them in their time periods, and explaining what life would have been like or why the building looks the way it does. When you do that for these buildings, they come to life in a way that maybe you never would have expected. And you'd think that most houses in Charleston have had their history studied, and that could not be further from the truth. We're doing histories on, of course, the big ones you see, but also the smaller single houses. We're doing histories on the outbuildings. We're doing histories on all types of structures, and together they create this mosaic of history and life in Charleston.
Right. You mentioned this space was an addition.
Yes. We are standing in a 1870s ballroom added by Colonel Richard Lathers after the Civil War. So he was a South Carolina boy who moved to the north. He married a northern girl from New York. And he came back to the South after the Civil War to help revive and to help inspire the people of Charleston specifically. And so this ballroom in particular was used for many events by Colonel Lathers. He's pulling together governors from states across the United States to talk about what just happened in the Civil War, to come up with a plan on how to rebuild the Union, and all that energy. I'm getting chills just talking about that. All that energy is here inside this ballroom, but also we know that there were many families that lived in this house. And so you can imagine children playing in here. I mean, this was a children's playground. You had several generations in one house. So dinners, parties, potentially. We know that there were a lot of great artists and musicians that came through here in the 1920s during the Charleston Renaissance time period, potentially here. We are in what we call a mansard roof. So in the 1870s, the Second Empire style really comes into vogue. And a mansard roof is a roof looks like a little hat. So it has slopes, but a flat top. And if you go outside, you'll see it. And that was iconic of the Second Empire style. So this mansard roof was added for Colonel Richard Lathers as his library. And so the property owner has really done a lot of work in trying to uncover what that library may have entailed. Most of these buildings now have these formal gardens, when in reality, yeah, there probably was some sort of garden on the property, if they were wealthy enough, but most of these yards were work yards, where the enslaved are working with the horses. They're potentially butchering livestock. Some are conducting their own blacksmithing, for management of the household. Some are doing laundry in the yard. And so I always love this view because it really gives you an idea of, you know, how much would have happened in the back of the yard and how many people we can honor and commemorate just by telling the story of a rear lot. The yard is gigantic, and again, you would have had probably a separate carriage house, potentially some other auxiliary structures, and you can see just how
So this property
large.
goes all the way back?
Yes.
Way back to the
all
brick
the way
wall?
back, all the way back to that brick wall. Really around the World War II era, we start to see them opening this up as a bed and breakfast, as a hotel. And that is what ultimately carries through, you know, since the last 100 years. And that's why this structure was kind of grandfathered in to remaining as a bed and breakfast.